Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can possess in your life, yet so often we feel the urge to react when faced with conflict, negativity, or disrespect. The world pressures us to respond, defend ourselves, and make sure others know our side of the story. But what if I told you that sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all? What if in moments where others expect you to react, you chose silence instead? Not silence from fear or weakness, but silence from a place of strength and self-awareness. When you react to every comment, every insult, every negative situation, you are handing over your energy, your focus, and your peace to someone or something outside of you. In those moments, you're allowing external forces to dictate how you feel and how you act. You're giving others control over your emotions, and once you let someone else have that power, it becomes much harder to take it back. Silence, on the other hand, allows you to reclaim control. It's the choice to not engage in a cycle that doesn't serve you, to not feed into the drama or the negativity that others try to bring into your space. We are constantly surrounded by noise, opinions, judgments, social media expectations, and demands. We're taught that we must be quick to respond, always ready to defend our point of view or to justify ourselves to others. But silence doesn't mean that you're weak or passive. It means you are intentional. It means that you understand the value of your peace and that you're not willing to sacrifice it for the sake of winning an argument or trying to make others understand your perspective. Sometimes not reacting is the most empowering thing you can do because it signals to yourself and others that your peace is non-negotiable. The act of remaining silent in the face of criticism or negativity doesn't come from a place of submission. It's not about being quiet out of fear or insecurity. It's about understanding that you don't owe anyone an explanation for your choices, your life, or your boundaries. When you choose silence, you're asserting your autonomy. You're saying, I don't need to prove myself to anyone. My actions and my peace are enough. In a world that is constantly seeking validation through words and actions, silence can be a form of rebellion. It's choosing to no longer engage with those who want to pull you into their drama or chaos. People who thrive on creating conflict or drama expect you to react, to give them the energy they need to feel justified. When you don't give them that energy, it takes away their power. It frustrates them because they no longer have the ability to provoke you. Your silence is a statement in itself, louder than any word could be. It's a refusal to be drawn into negativity, a declaration that you will no longer allow others to dictate how you feel or how you spend your energy. Silence is not passive, it's strategic. In many situations, responding only feeds the fire. It keeps the cycle going, prolonging the conflict and often escalating it. But when you remain silent, you create space for clarity. You give yourself the opportunity to process the situation, to understand your feelings, and to choose your next move with intention. By not reacting immediately, you allow yourself time to reflect and respond from a place of calm, not from a place of heightened emotion. When you remain silent in the face of negativity, you are showing the world that you are not defined by the actions or words of others. You are not seeking approval or validation from the outside world. You are rooted in your own sense of self. Your silence is a reflection of your inner strength, a sign that you don't need to explain yourself to anyone. Your peace, your boundaries, and your sense of worth come from within. No one can take that away unless you allow them to. The beauty of silence is that it disarms those who seek to provoke you. When someone expects you to fight back or defend yourself, your silence catches them off guard. They can't argue with you if you don't engage. They can't attack you if you refuse to give them any ammunition. Silence takes the power away from the situation and it leaves you in control. It's a reminder that your peace is not dependent on external circumstances, but is an internal state that you have the power to protect. By embracing silence, you're choosing to show up for yourself. You're choosing to protect your energy, your mental well-being, and your peace. And that's not weakness, that's wisdom. You don't have to react to everything. You don't have to explain your worth. You don't have to get involved in every battle. Sometimes the most powerful response you can give is no response at all. Cutting off toxic energy is one of the most essential acts of self-care you can offer yourself. We all encounter individuals, situations, or environments that drain us, that deplete our energy and disturb our peace. Sometimes these toxic energies come from people who we love or have been close to, making it even harder to recognize when it's time to let go. But the truth is, holding on to these toxic relationships or environments only stunts your growth, limits your potential, and compromises your well-being. If you want to protect your peace and elevate your life, you must be willing to cut off what no longer serves you, even if it's uncomfortable. Toxic people can come in many forms. Some are outright disrespectful, manipulative, and cruel, while others may be more passive, aggressive, dismissive, or overly critical. They may drain your emotional energy, feed off your vulnerabilities, or make you feel small. They might constantly undermine you, belittle your accomplishments, or make you doubt your worth. The patterns of toxicity may not always be obvious at first, but over time, they begin to take a toll on your mental, emotional, and even physical health. What starts as small, seemingly insignificant interactions grows into an ongoing cycle of negativity and harm. When you stay in these situations out of fear, guilt, or a sense of obligation, you allow that toxicity to infect every aspect of your life. It can be difficult to recognize when it's time to cut someone off, especially if you've invested time, energy, or love into a relationship. There may be an overwhelming sense of guilt or fear about what cutting them off will mean for you, for them, or for your future. But you must remember, protecting your peace is not selfish. It's necessary for your growth and your well-being. You cannot continue to pour into others if your own cup is empty. When someone or something consistently drains your energy, it becomes impossible to sustain your own well-being. Your growth is compromised when you are constantly weighed down by the negative energy of others. In these moments, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to let go, even if it's hard, even if it's painful. Cutting off toxic energy doesn't always mean you have to sever ties with a person entirely. It might mean setting boundaries, reducing contact, or removing yourself from situations that bring you down. Sometimes the most empowering thing you can do is not give your energy to someone who continuously seeks to pull you into their drama, negativity, or dysfunction. You don't need to explain or justify your decision to anyone. Your boundaries and your peace are more than enough justification. You don't have to allow anyone to manipulate your emotions or violate your boundaries. Once you understand the value of your energy, you realize that not every battle is yours to fight, and not every person deserves access to your time and spirit. Removing toxic energy is about taking back your power. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of respect, kindness, and love. It's about acknowledging that your peace and your happiness matter more than anyone else's demands or expectations. When you allow toxic people or environments to occupy space in your life, you give away your sense of self. You begin to mold yourself to fit into a space that is not conducive to your growth. Cutting off that energy is an act of reclaiming yourself, of saying, I am worth more than this. I deserve better. The fear of cutting off toxic energy often comes from a sense of attachment. We become so attached to people, relationships, or environments that we forget what it feels like to breathe freely. We forget what it feels like to be at peace with ourselves, unburdened by the weight of others' negativity. But the truth is, holding on to something that no longer serves you is only prolonging your suffering. It may feel scary to walk away, but the moment you let go, you make room for something greater. You create space for healthier relationships, more fulfilling experiences, and a deeper sense of self-worth. It's important to remember that cutting off toxic energy is not a reflection of you or your worth. It's a reflection of your commitment to protect your peace and to honor your own boundaries. When you cut someone off, you are not rejecting them as a person, but rather rejecting the behavior or energy they bring into your life. You are refusing to allow their negativity to dictate the course of your journey. You are not responsible for their actions or their feelings, and you cannot control them. But what you can control is how you respond. And choosing to protect yourself is one of the most powerful responses you can have. Cutting off toxic energy is a declaration that you value yourself, your peace, and your happiness more than the fear of confrontation or the guilt of walking away. It's an act of love towards yourself, one that says, I am worthy of joy, respect, and peace. When you begin to remove the toxic energy from your life, you open yourself up to a higher level, one where you are free to thrive and to grow and to become the person you were always meant to be. You are not defined by those who seek to bring you down. You are defined by your ability to stand firm in your truth and to protect what matters most, your peace, your joy, and your sense of self. You don't need validation from others. This is a hard truth to swallow, especially in a world that constantly demands approval, recognition, and external affirmation. Everywhere we turn, we are bombarded with messages that tell us our worth is tied to what others think of us. Social media, relationships, even work environments, so much of what we do seems to revolve around seeking validation from those around us. We look for likes, comments, or applause as proof that we are seen, appreciated, and valued. But the reality is, your worth was never meant to be measured by someone else's opinion. When you rely on external validation, you are essentially outsourcing your sense of self-worth. You are giving other people the power to define who you are, how you feel, and whether you are enough. This creates an unhealthy cycle where your happiness and peace are dependent on the approval of others. One day you may receive the praise you seek and you feel on top of the world. But the next day you could be faced with rejection, criticism, or silence, and suddenly your worth feels like it has been ripped away. This constant need for validation keeps you stuck in a pattern of highs and lows where your emotions and sense of self fluctuate depending on how others perceive you. True self-worth, however, comes from within. It is rooted in the understanding that you are enough simply because you exist. Your value is not determined by your appearance, your achievements, or the opinions of others. It is an internal knowing, a deep sense of confidence that doesn't waver based on external circumstances. When you rely on validation from within, you are no longer swayed by the fleeting opinions or judgments of others. You understand that you don't need anyone's approval to be worthy, and that recognition from the outside world is just a bonus, not a necessity. It can be difficult to break free from the habit of seeking validation, especially when we are conditioned to believe that our worth is tied to how others perceive us. But when you start to internalize your value, you stop looking for confirmation from the outside world. You begin to look inward, acknowledging your own strengths, talents, and worth. You realize that no one can take that away from you because it's not based on anything external. It's based on who you are at your core, not on how others see you or what they say about you. Seeking validation from others often leads to people-pleasing behavior. You start to mold yourself to fit the expectations of others, sacrificing your own needs and desires in the process. You may find yourself constantly trying to please others, saying yes when you really want to say no, or doing things to gain their approval even when it doesn't align with your values. People-pleasing robs you of your authenticity. It makes you lose sight of who you truly are because you're too busy trying to be what others want you to be. When you stop seeking external validation, you begin to reclaim your authenticity. You start living for yourself, not for anyone else's approval. You stop hiding behind a mask and you embrace the fullness of who you are, flaws and all. This shift doesn't mean you stop caring about others or their opinions. It simply means that you no longer base your sense of self-worth on those opinions. You can take feedback, criticism, and advice from others, but you don't let it define you. You have the power to discern what is helpful and what is not. You know that you are already enough regardless of whether others approve of you or not. This inner confidence gives you the freedom to make choices that are aligned with your true self, not with the expectations or judgments of others. It's also important to understand that when you stop seeking validation from others, you free yourself from the need to constantly compare yourself to them. Comparison is one of the biggest thieves of joy, and it thrives on external validation. When you constantly measure yourself against others, you are setting yourself up for disappointment because no one's journey is the same. What works for one person may not work for you, and their success does not diminish your own. By looking within for your validation, you eliminate the need to compare. You realize that your journey is unique to you and your progress is your own. You are not in competition with anyone else. You are on your own path, and that path is valuable simply because it's yours. Releasing the need for validation also empowers you to make decisions that are true to your values and your purpose, not based on what others expect of you. You begin to trust your intuition, your inner guidance, and your ability to navigate life on your terms. You stop seeking external approval before taking action and instead trust that you have the wisdom and strength to make the right decisions for yourself. This creates a sense of independence and freedom that allows you to live authentically and without fear of judgment. You are no longer at the mercy of others' opinions, and that is where true power lies. Ultimately, the journey to stop seeking validation is a journey of self-love. It's about accepting yourself as you are without needing anyone else's confirmation. It's about understanding that you are worthy, capable, and deserving of all the good things life has to offer simply because you exist. When you stop seeking validation from others, you begin to live with a deep sense of inner peace, confidence, and joy that comes from knowing that you are enough just as you are. Peace over pride is a concept that many of us struggle to fully grasp because we often equate pride with strength, power, and self-respect. It's easy to believe that in order to protect our dignity and honor, we must defend ourselves at all costs, assert our worth constantly, and never back down, even when the situation doesn't warrant it. But there's a deeper strength in choosing peace over pride. In fact, true strength often lies in choosing peace, even when pride tells you to fight, to argue, or to prove yourself. The ability to let go of the need to be right or to win every battle is a sign of emotional maturity and wisdom. It is the quiet courage to recognize that some things are just not worth the emotional cost. Pride can serve as a defense mechanism, a way to protect ourselves from feeling vulnerable or exposed. We think that if we stand firm and refuse to back down, we're showing strength. We may feel that if we don't assert our position, we're letting others walk all over us. But the reality is, pride can often keep us trapped in a cycle of conflict and stress. When we hold on too tightly to our pride, we open ourselves up to unnecessary battles that drain our energy and hinder our growth. Pride can cause us to react impulsively, to retaliate in anger, or to seek validation by constantly proving ourselves to others. But in the long run, this kind of behavior doesn't bring true peace or satisfaction. It only brings more turmoil and division. Choosing peace over pride requires us to shift our perspective. It means understanding that our worth doesn't depend on constantly defending ourselves or winning every argument. It means recognizing that peace, both inner and outer, is far more valuable than being right. When we choose peace, we are choosing to preserve our emotional energy, to protect our mental health, and to avoid unnecessary conflict. It's a recognition that peace isn't about avoiding tough situations or compromising our values. It's about choosing the higher ground. It's about understanding that sometimes silence, distance, or walking away is the wisest decision we can make. When we choose peace over pride, we're also making a conscious decision to let go of the need for control. Pride often comes from a place of wanting to control how others see us or how situations unfold. We may feel the need to maintain a certain image to prove that we're right or to make sure that others recognize our worth. But peace, on the other hand, comes from a place of surrender. It comes from the understanding that we can't control everything, and that's okay. We don't need to control every interaction, every situation, or every opinion. We can let go of the need to control and instead trust that what is meant for us will come without us having to force it or defend it. The shift from pride to peace also requires us to become more self-aware. When we are driven by pride, we are often focused on external validation. We care deeply about how others perceive us, and we take offense when that perception doesn't align with how we see ourselves. But peace is an internal state. It's about being comfortable with who we are, regardless of how others see us. Choosing peace means we are no longer attached to the opinions of others or the need for external validation. We don't need to prove ourselves because we already know our worth. This self-awareness allows us to navigate conflict with grace and composure without being dragged into unnecessary drama or negative energy. It's also important to understand that choosing peace over pride doesn't mean that we tolerate disrespect or mistreatment. It doesn't mean that we let others walk all over us or accept behavior that goes against our values. It means that we have the strength to choose how we respond to these situations. Rather than reacting in anger or ego, we choose to protect our peace. We set boundaries, we assert ourselves when necessary, and we stand up for what we believe in, but we do so from a place of calm and clarity, not from the need to prove ourselves or fight for our pride. The decision to choose peace over pride also has a profound effect on our relationships. When we are always focused on winning, on being right, or on proving our point, we often create tension and division with others. But when we choose peace,